Leland Vittert is with Senate candidate Herschel Walker, fresh off the debate. This is worth interrupting to listen to. Leland, to you.
Chris, thank you very much. I just asked you, Mr. Walker. All right, Herschel. After what is the feeling? More relief after a big game or after this?
This is a lot of relief.
Stakes were high.
The stakes are very high, and when you hate to go up on stage and let happen what happened, but at the same time, this is a very, very important seat.
When you say let happen what happened, if there was one moment that you hope not only voters in Georgia but voters and Republicans nationwide see from tonight, what is it?
Well, I think that people see that he will say and do whatever he can to try to keep this seat. This seat is so important, so they will lie and do whatever they can to keep this seat. But as I said earlier on in the week, you came to the wrong guy. I didn't get into this race because I wanted to be a politician. I got into this race because I saw something wrong. And I want everyone to know I'm going to fight for this seat. This seat is handed over to it.
You certainly fought up there. You set expectations low. I saw your clip earlier where you said, look, I'm a country boy. He's a pastor with nice suits, in your words. And you said, I'm just going to go do my best. Were you sandbagging a little bit? You came out punching pretty strong.
I wasn't sandbagging. That's what everyone had told me, that he's such an incredible speaker. He's this and he's that. But my thing is right now he's got a record. I think that's what people have gotten about, and most all the media that I've talked to on the campaign trail is trying to campaign for him. They are trying to ask questions of lies and want me to answer those things. And that's, guys, it's not about my personal life and not about his personal life. It's what you're going to do when you get to the Senate. And what he's done when he got to the Senate is forgot about Georgia. And I just want to remind people of that. When you start touting his accomplishment, you got to tout it all. Don't just say part of it. It's sort of like saying a Bible scripture. No, you got to say the whole thing. Don't just say part. You got to say the whole thing.
Fair enough. You talk about representing Georgia. Brian Kemp, the Republican governor, also represents Georgia. He's running for re-election as well. He's 8 points up versus where you are against your opponent. It's a huge difference. What do you have to say to those 8% of people who are voting for a Republican governor but voting for a Democratic senator to change their mind?
Well, first of all, Governor Kemp is incompetent. He's been there. People have seen him govern. And all people think about me as that athlete. And they don't even know that I even started a business. They don't even know the things I've done outside that. My athletic career is overshadowed so much. But what I want the people to know is I will represent them at day one. I will represent them at day one. I'm ready to do it at day one, and I can do it. Because you look where we're at in just 2 years. This is not like.
No, you've clearly tried to set this up, and we've talked about this throughout our coverage. You want to define the field of play as making this a referendum on Joe Biden and Raphael Warnock and tying them together.
Well, think about it. It is. Well, that's exactly what it is, and people need to know that. He had to decide and vote on every bill that passed. He had to decide and vote. He could have said no.
I got to ask you about this, and this has been the flip side, and this is what a lot of political commentators will say explains that 8%, is there's questions about your past and your history. It includes what was brought up tonight about claiming to have worked with the FBI, worked with the sheriff's office and all, and then you pulled out a badge on stage. You got reprimanded for that. Rules are rules. But explain to us what you were trying to get across.
Well, I carry that with me all the time. And as I
Can we see it?
As I said early on, is they would say and do whatever they want to try to win this seat.
Okay.
When I mentioned the FBI, people know I was joking, but I have trained with the FBI. I have supported my men and women in blue for years. This is not
so
something.
This is what you were saying.
This is not something that I just happened to do. So they lied about it.
So this was Johnson County, Herschel Walker.
And that's not just one. I have many of badges that I've worked with law enforcement around the county.
The accusation is that you tried to pass yourself off as a law enforcement officer when you're not.
And see, that's not true. I say I've worked with law enforcement, which I have. I never said I went out to do anything, but I worked with every law enforcement around the county. And this is what's so interesting. I have more sheriff that has endorsed me than any candidate running today because they know I've worked with them. And I said, so when they lie because they'll do anything. The same thing they're doing now, they lie because they want to get the people away from me. I support the military, I support law enforcement, and I never had an abortion and all that, but they continue to lie. But right now I'm going to win this seat.
Well, at least by all sort of analysis that I've seen so far, you took a big step forward today. You said something in the debate that I thought was quite interesting, which is you said point blank that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election and Joe Biden won the 2020 election. You also said you stand by your allies. President Trump doesn't say that he lost the 2020 election. He says he won. So do you stand by your allies?
What I said is that that's the reason I'm running, that they are in office. Whether he lost or won, Joe Biden and
due respect. You do respect.
You did. Okay. And I said that is the reason I'm running, because they're in office right now. They are the reason we have this sky-high inflation. They're the reason this border is wide open. They're the reason crime is the way it is, because they are in that seat right now, and they're showing weakness on an international stage. They're showing weakness within our cities. That's the reason criminals are doing the things they're doing. And that's what I was saying. That's the reason I'm running, because President Trump is not in the White House.
So I want to be clear. Were you saying that President Trump did win the 2020 election?
No. I said President Trump did not win the 2020
did not
election.
Win. Okay.
So
Fair
Biden won it, and Raphael Warnock won it. That's the reason I'm running.
And you said you stand with your allies. You obviously,
yes.
One of the reasons you're here not only is because you said that Donald Trump lost the election, but also because he endorsed you. He came down and campaigned for you. You've certainly tied yourself very closely to him.
Well, I tie myself to anyone that want to help me to win the seat.
Fair enough.
I'm tied to
and President Trump's got some problems right now. He's got the issues of the FBI investigation, the January 6th committee's coming out. Obviously, it's very political right now in terms of the attacks on his timing.
It's very political.
No, it is.
That's
it is.
the problem.
Do you think that's a problem for you, though?
No, I don't think that's a problem for me, because I said something that everyone should need to recognize about this country here. The Lady Justice should be blind, and the scales of justice should not have a hand on it. We all know right now the scales of justice has a hand on it. Well, a person of color, and I mentioned it on the stage, a person of color want everyone to be treated fairly, want everyone to be treated right, because you can't do what for one and not for the other. So that's what I said, and then I stand by it. I said, guys, right now, I want to be concerned about things that are happening, not Donald Trump, whether he's going to run in 2024. I'm concerned about people dying on the streets in Atlanta. I'm concerned about, in my little hometown, people living paycheck to paycheck. The gas prices are about to go up. The utility bill is about to go up.
I think reasonable people could agree that the nuance of policy is not your strong suit. Is that fair?
Well, people could agree that right now, I'm getting into this political world like anyone else. But at the same time, I can govern just as well as anyone in it sitting right now, because I know how to vote. I can vote. If I get the same bill they get and I read them, I can determine just as well as anyone else.
Is that saying that you're just going to vote against anything that Joe Biden does?
No, I say I will read them and determine what is best for the Georgia people. And that's the problem I said they're doing in Washington. They're going by what partisan line. They're not determining what is best for this country, because if they would do that, we'll be energy independent again. If they would do that, we'll be energy independent. How could we think that going to our enemies for energy is the right thing to do? How could they think that continuing to spend money we don't have is the right thing to do?
When you think about what's happening in this election, is that as we look at the polling, your base seems to be fairly secure. In fact, there was a very, very popular right-wing commentator, Dana Lash, who came out and said she didn't care even if you did pay for somebody's abortion. What she cares about is control of the Senate. What do you represent to independents that are more interested in the person than they are simply in red or blue control of the Senate?
Well, what I represent to the people is I love America. I love the Constitution, that I would stand for American values. I would stand for what the Constitution stood for and not try to separate us because of the color of your skin. He mentioned Dr. King up on stage, and I wanted to say something, and we were running out of time.
Yeah.
And if anyone are honest, he mentioned Dr. King, but Dr. King said it's the content of your character, not the color of your skin. Well, he seemed to talk about the color of your skin all the time. So people won't be honest, and I said, it is time, if you're going to represent Georgia, it's time for us to be honest. Right now, we have people watching, and I'm not saying your news station, we have people watching the news station, they're not sure what to trust.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
people are so partisan. And I said, guys, we need, in Washington, we need politicians that are going to be honest. Tell the people the truth.
We talked to Donnell Suggs, who's the reporter, editor-in-chief of the Atlanta Voice. It's a predominantly African-American newspaper in Atlanta. Right now, Raphael Warnock is winning the African-American vote by 55 points. First time in history you've only got 2 African-Americans to vote for. This is a historic time. He says that you're not spending enough time in the African-American community and trying to court that vote and bring them over. Why is that?
Well, first of all, he says. And that's what I got. I hear a lot of he says.
Yeah?
But yeah,
You disagree with that?
I totally disagree
All right.
with it. And that's why I say I hear a lot of people say he said, anonymous, Lakers and all this. I'm working to represent all of Georgia. Got nothing to do with black, white, yellow, green. I'm representing all of Georgia. And I said it when I was running. If he's a Martian, he's a Georgia citizen, I'm going to represent him. Because I said,
If there's any Martians, that'd be pretty good.
Well, I said, right now we need leaders.
Okay.
We don't need people out here talking about color of skin. We don't need people out here that want to be partisan because of a party. And, you know, what's strange is I mentioned it. He has voted, along with Chuck Schumer, along with Biden, 96% of the time. Was that not one time where he thought, wait a minute, I got to go with Georgia? Not one time did he think I need to go with Georgia on this. Because that was things that came down that would have hurt Georgia.
Do you understand, at least, that there is a group of people who voted even for President Trump, but certainly people who voted for Brian Kemp and will vote for Brian Kemp again, who are not voting for you? Do you understand
you know what? You're making a statement that you don't know. The
No,
vote hadn't come through.
Well,
The vote hadn't come through, so you're making an assumption and you're putting it out to the people.
well, how about-
But let's be honest in this. What
There's
is
people
happening
telling
right now?
us that.
Well, no. Well, you got everybody telling
No,
you that?
not
Right, see,
everybody,
I
but I
think
have- no,
that
but-
is a question. That is a question.
there are
because-
people who say that,
Yes.
though.
Yeah,
And I'm wondering, do you
well,
understand
people
their
that say-
concern?
One of the things that you have to learn about me, I came from Wrightsville, Georgia. People told me I couldn't play football. People told me I couldn't run track. People told me I couldn't get on the Olympics. People told me all this. But you know what happened? I got out and got the job done.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. I get the job done. And I said, I'm going to win this election. That's the reason I got in it. Right now, I'm going to fight for the Georgia people. I think right now they don't have a champion in Washington. And I can promise them that I will be their champion because I'm not going to Washington to just to make buddy-buddy. I'm going to Washington to fight for the Georgia people.
All right. Last question. I want to drill down on this. There are people who we've talked to who are on television saying, I like Brian Kemp. I'm concerned about Herschel Walker. What did you want to show them tonight, and what do you have to show them over the next 3 weeks
Well,
to convince them?
what I want to do, and you watched the debate.
I did.
So, what do you think? Can I do this? Okay, now
No, the great
no,
part-
no, no,
no,
no,
the
no.
great part
Just
of
tell
it
me,
being
no. What did I do? You got to tell me. What do you think? That's just a question because I say that because I said people watch me, and people continue to say things that they don't know about.
Okay.
And I said my thing is I have gotten the job done time in and time out. Everything I ever went out to do, I've been successful at it, and I'll be a successful senator in Washington because when I get my hands and stuff.
Forgive me for asking this question,
Yes.
but it's become an issue. You said everything I've done, I've been successful at. There's a lot of questions about whether or not you've been a successful father.
Yes, and I've been a very successful father.
For every
just
kid.
said, you had asked a question you know nothing about because they would say and do anything to try to win this seat. But me, I have done everything I was able and allowed to do as a father.
All right. Again, I'll close with this. What do you want people who watch this debate in Georgia, who were truly the undecideds, to take away? What was your goal?
Well, as you said earlier on, I asked a question to you. What do you think? What do you take away from it? That I can govern just as good as anyone else. That I can get the job done just as good as everyone else.
It took away you surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, well, it got nothing to do with surprising. It got to do with, this was my first debate. And I said, the people said, you didn't debate in the primary. I said, I didn't need to. I need to debate Senator Warnock. And now they're saying, he's a professional. He's an incumbent. He's polished.
You think
He's
he was playing it
incredible.
safe?
He was being himself.
You
So now people are going to say, oh, he just was playing it safe. No. He was doing what he's supposed to do. He was saying what he's supposed to do. But he just came upon this country boy that had gotten ready to do the job.
Yeah, you've been spending a lot of time in prep work. You paid it.
No. I've been out campaigning.
You feel like it paid off?
Oh, everything I do in the prep work for the debate, I think, paid off. And no, I've been out campaigning. People see that I've been out campaigning to the people, and that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go back and take my campaign to the people, and that's what I have to do, because I'm not putting you guys down. The media is not my friend.
Oh, we deserve a lot of criticism.
No,
we do.
I'm not criticizing anyone, but I said the media is not my friend. So
is it our job to be your friend?
Well, you're one up friend.
I am?
I'm not saying you. I'm saying the media. I said the media. I said I'm not
Okay.
putting you down. I said the media. I see articles that I'm having to answer, and he mentioned something up there about the eviction of people. I had nothing to do with that. I found out that today.
This is the article about.
I found out that today, and he's upset. I found out that today. I didn't know anything about that, but somebody found something out of him, and he see how angry he got about it, and he blamed me. Well, for me, people lied on me, and he know about it. I didn't get angry. I just said I'm moving forward, and I said I think that's what's important. People shouldn't care about that. They should care about how you're going to be as a senator representing them.
Well, that's a good place to leave it. Congratulations on an evening. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. And Chris, I'm going to toss it back to you with the caveat that the continual problem we have had all night of us being able to hear each other may be fixed for a second. So if you have something to say or to ask the senator, Herschel Walker.
You said senator. You said it the right time.
I've gone back and forth so
you
many
said
times
so
tonight.
great.
Senator Warnock, Mr. Walker, whatever, I'll be happy to pass along any question.
All good, Leland. You asked the questions. It was great for the audience to get the answers fresh off the debate. Appreciate it. We're going to take a break here.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.